Good morning, everyone. I'm glad to see you back. And there's still some people joining us, so let's see if they come while I review with you the program for today. I'll share what I have here. So today is the day 3, and we are going to continue with digital storytelling. We are going to talk, we already know how to set our camera, how to use our camera, and how to make good pictures according to the composition and taking the light into account. So now is the time for photo editing. We will see this. Then after the break, we'll see about, we'll get some general knowledge about digital storytelling creation. We will see examples. And then after that, we will talk about storyboard, the importance of teamwork, and some programs for digital storytelling. Still, this is the program for the theoretical part. But I always like my students to be pro or my learners because you are not, some of you are not students anymore. But the people I teach, I always like them to be proactive, to interact, to participate. So as this is an online environment, it is different the way in which you can participate. Still, I have for you something, and it is, I want you to put into practice some of the things that you have learned. So while I go through this last theoretical part, I will give you some steps to follow in order to create your own digital storytelling. So I want you to pay attention today because at the end of the day, I will give you some time to finish that draft that you will be doing while I explain some things. And then I would like you to present your draft to us. Of course, we will not have enough time for every one of you to show your draft, but some of you will be randomly chosen by me in order to show that presentation. Say that, we are going to start with the photo editing part, and then I need to switch the presentation, right? We are here, and then we need to go to page 32. That. So I'll make this closer so you can see it better. Remember that you can at any time express any doubt or interact in expressing your opinion or commenting anything that you want to through the chat or by asking for the turn and switching your microphone on. So photo editing. First of all, I would like to know how much do you know about photo editing? And you're welcome to answer the question through the chat. How much do you know? Hmm? Right. So you have my question in the chat. How much do you know, or do you think you know about photo editing? No answers. I see some of you hesitate about sharing your opinion, maybe because you think your English is not fluent enough, but I am sure it is, and I understand if you don't want to participate by letting the others know your opinion, or maybe you are shy by thinking you don't know enough. It happens sometimes, but I am sure some of you have already used photo edition, not necessarily with a software, but maybe with your cell phone. Most of us have ever crop or cut a picture in order to share it in our profiles or in order to share it in our stories. So that is also photo editing, as we will see. So photo editing means more than simply applying an eye-catching filter to a photograph. It is a technical process, but mastering picture editing is a crucial ability that will help you transform good photos into great ones. So first of all, we had to choose the right image. Any photographs that are unfocused or blurry can be deleted, and this is especially important to do if the subject's eyes are blurry in the picture, unless your purpose was not to create a blurry image. So that means when we edit a picture, it usually loses quality. So that is the reason why if we get a picture to start which doesn't have good quality, then after the edition it will be worse. So you should also check when choosing your pictures the exposure of the photographs. We talked about this yesterday, and if any of them are either too dark or too light, you should get rid of those as well. But if you have a frame of anything very fantastic that is dark, you shouldn't throw it away right away, because a dark photo can sometimes be transformed into a beautiful image through the use of digital processing. So when you have completed the beginning stages of limiting down your list, you will be able to focus on selecting the best images. That means that when you discard the brighter or darker or blurry pictures, then you have the best images, and then you can choose any of them, and then you start editing. So we take a lot more pictures with digital technology than we ever did with film. That is the reality nowadays. So it is important to be picky when you edit. Most of the times, if you take a picture, you take when you want to take a picture, you usually take at least 3 or even more, most of the times with cell phones. Even if you ask anyone passing by to take a picture of you, the person will probably do more than one to make sure that you can choose from a range of pictures, that you can choose the one you like the most. And that means that we keep many pictures with sometimes the same quality, same background, same subject of the photograph. So that is the reason why we had to be picky. We can select from those many. We did just the best one and then start editing. Then we need to remember that the editing process will help us become better photographers, because it shows us what you skipped in the field and what to collaborate on with your next shoot. That means when you edit a picture, is the moment you realize that your position wasn't good enough when taking the picture, or that the light wasn't in the right direction, or that you include too many things or not enough things in that photograph. So when you edit is the moment when you realize how to improve your pictures, your shoots the next time. Knowing that, when you are satisfied that you have selected the best images, you may begin to make necessary adjustments to multiple parts of your images, that being the brightness, the temperature, the grain, the frame, and so on that we have been talking since Wednesday. So here comes the moment in which we think of which software should we use. We have already seen some of them at the beginning of this course, and we had to remember that Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Lightroom are important tools for professionals and more expert photographers, but we are not. So recently, Adobe Photoshop online version. It's free for every kind of users, and we may take this advantage to improve our editing skills with using this online version. But there are more online free photo editors that are easy to use and available for mobile devices as well. So here we have a list with some of them. Again, as we said, the first day you can go to Google Play or the store from Apple and download them for free. So they are, this one is Photopad, editing software for Mac. Then we have the one we talked about the first day is Pixir, I think it is. Said it is for both Android and iOS. And then for both we have as well PixArt. Then, as we said, Adobe Lightroom, Snapseed for both as well, and LightX again for both. You can choose any of them and try them in your phone, and you will see they are all very intuitive. As I say, they are for free, and they are very good to help you editing pictures in your phone. So you won't need to install any other software in any other device. And you won't need professional knowledge in order to edit your pictures. So there are many ways to edit, change an image or photo. There's many softwares options, and many photo editors have common tools to edit photos, but some of them have limited options that affect general modifications to your image, and others allow you to make more changes and adjust the parts of the image. So most of them have some similar things, some things in common, very basic, but some others have more tools that help you improve your photograph. So when you know the common tools of photo editors, editing process will be shaped according your eyes and your will. And sometimes images can be totally right exposed, good white balance and perfect framing. But as you are the photographer, still you can adjust your images how you desire or imagine. That means that you can add filters, you can add other pictures, you can make collages with other pictures, you can add names, or you can make a different composition, even though the picture is good. So when we think about photo editing, we are not thinking about only improving the quality of the photograph we made, but we are also talking about making your photograph look different, making it better, making a creative work with your photograph. So there's here some photo editing tools that we can use to edit photograph to a basic level. So there's things that Some of you might know, some others have never used. And first thing we need to learn about is the white balance. So what does it mean? We see here the changes in white balance, right? We see blue here, we see white here, and we see yellow here. So the balance will be here, where you can see the blue skies with white clouds, white snow, and gray stones. While here in the left, you will see bluish snow and darkened stones. So you do not see a real difference between the sky and the snow, the land. And here to the right, you see everything is yellow. So the sky that was supposed to be blue, it has a yellow color. And again, the snow, which is supposed to be white, has a yellow color. So here will be the balance, but as we are talking about storytelling and being creative, we had to keep in mind that sometimes we may want to have this color, this bluish color, or this yellowish color. So it will depend on the intentions of our story, of our photograph, what we want to say, our message. As we saw yesterday, each photograph has a message. So depending on that, we might want our photograph to look in one way or another. So that is how we can play with the balance. So sometimes this is the real picture, and maybe we want to turn it yellow, a bit more yellow, in order to give more warmth to the place because it matches the message or the story we are saying. So white balance is adjusting colors to match the color of the light source. So that's why objects appear white, as we see here, right? White clouds and white snow. So when the different light sources like sunlight, bulbs, fluorescent heat, the subjects might reflect different colors than it is supposed to, right? So let's see, we have been using a warm bulb here. So that is the reason why we are getting the yellow environment, and then we want to turn it this way. So despite the fact that these various light sources look colorless to the human eye, they really release light in a variety of colors, right? So that happens, and you will notice that as soon as you start taking photographs on your own. As a beginner, you can start shooting around, and then you get different pictures that that look perfect to your eye, to your site. But then when you try to upload them to your digital environment, or you try to edit them, is the moment you realize that the light was too blue or too yellow. So then is when we start realizing, as I said first, when we started today, when you start editing is when you see your mistakes. So you start thinking of which type of light you should carry with you when going to a place, or when going outside, or when going to a determined environment. So also the image sensor of a digital camera will represent these color variations just as they are, with the consequence that without extra processing, the color of the shot will appear to change according to the light source, right? So that is something we also need to keep in mind, that digital cameras as smartphone will represent the color variations as they are, and sometimes we need to modify them. So for example, photos shoot under incandescent lamps are automatically made bluer to correct the reddish color that comes with this sort of illumination, right? So this is something important to remember, that incandescent lamps make bluer color to correct the reddish. They will be reddish, but as we are using a digital camera or a smartphone, sorry, it will correct the reddish result and make it blue like here, more blue, right here. So that is when we have the auto white balance. So we can also deactivate this auto white balance if we have the option in our digital camera or our smartphone. So white balance provides you to adjust colors so that the image looks more natural, like here, right? We can make it, this is not really natural. We know that the snow is white, and this is not natural either because the snow here is blue. So we want to make it natural like here, right? So adjusting white balance is very simple with any kind of photo editor software, but also you can do it in your camera settings manually with choosing some features as auto white balance, daylight, cloudy, etc. So this is something else that you need to modify and need to learn about your camera, the settings of your camera. So setting manually your camera features as the auto white balance, you can activate it or deactivate it if you want the picture to be bluer. You can activate it when you use an incandescent lamp, but also you can set it into daylight when you are outside and the day is sunny, or you can set it into cloudy when you are in a cloudy environment, etc. You have many other options in some cameras depending on how developed they are. So I want to see some examples with you. Let me see. Because sometimes we can even work with most of the devices nowadays have a photo editor, and we can use this photo editor for very basic modifications. So let me get an example for you. So you can use the photo editor or picture editor. It depends on, most of the times it's called photo editor. And we always have one in our computer. There's an application to process our pictures that most of the times allows us to edit them. And also smartphones have that options as well, even in those applications that belong to Android. So I'm going to get this one. Let me share it with you. So here I opened, sorry, 1 minute. Now. Okay. So I have a picture here, right? It is a street at night. It is very dark. And you can see here at the top of the picture, there is this, there's those tools that belong to the application that opens the picture in my computer, and it is in any computer. So if I click here, I can edit the picture, right? So I can make it smaller or bigger. But if I go to settings, I have the option of changing any of the things, right, that we are going to talk about. So it is in Spanish, but anyway, it will give you an idea. This is the balance. So you can see if I move it to the right, I will make it darker. If I move it to the left, I will make it lighter. And I will see more the details, right? You see here that the camera took all the details, but without enough light because the photographer didn't use a flash or any other source of light. So I can make it lighter here, right? This is the white balance, I guess. So you see, I can make it a bit more yellow and more blue, right? So it has a different name here, and that is something that you will have to learn with time by trial and failure. By trying once and again with the different programs when most of the times they have the same tools with different names. So here this is it is called warmness or so, and it is the white balance. As you can see, if I turn it to the left, it is more bluish. My picture is more bluish, and if I turn it to the right, it's a bit more yellowish, right? So depending on the atmosphere I want to create, you see this is more warm, right? So it looks like a more nostalgic picture. And if I move it here, it is more cold. It gives the feeling of a cold night of winter, so the atmosphere is different, right? So what I want you to see is that as I was saying, there's many tools, applications, software, and even good software for professionals that you can use to edit any photograph. But even in your computer, you can start by those simple modifications. And when you learn how to improve your shoots, you maybe decide to download or buy another software that is more professional. So that is the white balance. Now I have to go back to the presentation. So we are here, right? So here again, that is all about white balance. Remember that most of the times this is the name, but you can find it under a different name. Then we have exposure. We have already talked about this yesterday. It's the amount of light in a picture. You see this one has a low exposure because it's too dark. So adjusting the exposure is all about the brightness or darkness of the image, right? So adjusting the highlights of the image, control just the brighter parts of the image, and similarly adjusting shadows to control only the darker locations of the image. So adjusting whites make the brightest points of the images more shiny, right? So it doesn't mean, of course, when you adjust the whites, all the picture will look brighter, but what you are really doing is making the brightest points of the image more shiny. In this case will be this one here will be more bright, this part here will be more white, and as well those parts here will be more bright. You will not make the picture much brighter. And then the blacks make the darkest points of the images darker. That will be making these parts here more dark than they look already. And Okay, so I'm trying to go back to the same picture that I had. Here. So back to the same picture that I got as an example. You see here, exposure, right? So the picture is dark here because there's a light here, another one here, so they don't reach the place in which the photographer was, right? So, and the photographer was not using any other source of light, so the light is around here. So let's see how when I move it to the right, which is whiter, we'll make the brighter parts, as I said, the brighter parts, sorry for that, the brighter parts will be made brighter. You see, this part is brighter, but I haven't changed much of this. Of course, a little bit because the light is reaching more points than before when I'm making this brighter. You can see here now a red light that you couldn't see before, but it is the brighter parts that I make brighter. I don't change the rest. And then if I do the opposite, you see here that what I am doing is making the darker parts darker. So the darker parts are bigger and the darkness is deeper. So you see darkness come here and you can see less of the picture. You see here that red dot is not as visible as it was before. So that will help you understand how the exposure works. This is the balance that it has, original picture. So when I darken it, I darken the darkest parts. And when I whiten it, I whiten the brightest parts. About expert. And then let's see contrast. So contrast means the level of difference between the lighter and darker portions of the image, right? So the level of difference between lighter and darker portions. So when you add contrast to your image, it causes the darks to get darker and the lights to become brighter, right? So here in the exposure, we whiten the shiny parts, the brightest parts, and we make more black the darkest parts. But here we are playing with both at the same time. When you use your contrast, you either make more lights and dark more dark, and at the same time you can lower both, right? So you're playing with both at the same time. Well, here they are opposite. If you play with one, you cannot play with the other. When you use the white, you cannot use the dark. And here you are playing with both. So when you reduce the contrast to your image, result is dark and bright parts get close each other, and then the image fades, right? So it's like yeah, I'll show you an example better than explaining it again. So let's get back to the same picture. So this is contrast right here. This is most of the time the simple contrast. This is the original picture. So I will increase the contrast. And if you look at the picture, you will see how it fades, right? Together. And when I decrease it, I am faded into white, right? So I can just fade the picture. This is again the picture itself, and by increasing the contrast, we are fading it into black. And when we decrease it, we are fading it into white, right? So you see the picture here. The picture here now is brighter. You can see more parts, but with less detail because it is faded. And here you fade it into dark. So again, you see more parts and height in black. So there's no details again, right? Now back to the presentation. Then we have clarity. So it helps improve the appearance and it helps clarify the texture of the image when you are adding clarity. So if you reduce clarity as a position, it will affect to your image being less sharpness and dreamy ambience. So playing with clarity is playing with the appearance and creating atmosphere in your photographs as it will be more detailed or less detailed depending on how clear it is. Um, I was thinking because I'm not sure the same picture is a good example, but at least that will help you. Hmm, Let me see. This again, this photo editor has two ways of changing the clarity. I'm gonna show you anyway, so you will have an idea of how clarity works um, for pictures. So here, so you can play with clarity here, right? This is brightness, but you're giving clarity or giving less clarity. You see there's less definition of your picture here, of course, more dark. And the same here. This is a quite dark picture, so you will probably notice the difference in the texture and appearance in another type of picture, but at least you know how it works a little bit. But as I say, this editor has, and that's something that you have, it's a good moment to explain as well, that the more professional the software or the application, the more parts you can break each setting in. That means when you have brightness, or whereas you have brightness in a in a simple application, you will have brightness divided into other parts in a more professional photo editor. So here, even though this is not a professional one, you have the option of the brightness here and then lights here, right? So the lights are giving more or less light to the picture. You see is less defined here, and it is more defined here. See, there's more details when I increase it, and there is less details when I decrease it, but it gives a different atmosphere. Right, so having this kind of picture will be a better example, having this clear and green picture. So when you reduce clarity, just keep the idea that when you reduce the clarity of a picture by any setting you have, your image will have less sharpness and it will have a dreamy ambience. The effect to your site is kind of similar to that made by blurring a background, but you are not blurring it. And saturation. So that shows you the amount of color of the image, similarly to vibrance. So if you add saturation to your image, colors will be more, they will be enhanced. But if you reduce the saturation, colors will be faded and the minimum level of saturation will be only black and white. So I'm going to show you again. Let's take the same picture, but then I'm going to do it with another one. You see there's some gray blue here. That's the only color visible because the others are black and white. But you will see if I increase the saturation, you see there's more colors now. You can see this with more it is enhanced. Even this red dot that we couldn't see with the darkness, now it is enhanced. As well, the yellowish here in the street, for whatever reason, maybe the humidity of the street, we can still see those details because colors are enhanced. We can now notice the plants in the balcony because the green is enhanced as well. So when I decrease the saturation, you see there's no colors, it's black and white. I'm going to show you another picture. Let me choose the picture first. So now. Okay, this is you see here there's different colors, right? There's makeup around here, there's orange, and there's makeup in my face. So that will be a better example for you to notice the saturations there. So the saturation, if I increase if I increase the saturation in these pictures, you see all the colors are enhanced. There's this makeup here Now it is really visible to your sight. Well, it wasn't here. It is quite a bright picture, so you may see some green here, but you don't see much and you see just some orange here, and it is in contrast with the white background, but you don't see much. But when I increase the saturation, you see colors are enhanced. Even the lips look more reddish, and you can see now there's 3 or 4 different colors here. You see now the red, the yellow, the green, and then you see also the orange of the dress and height. And then if I do the opposite, if I decrease the saturation, you see the picture turns into black and white. There's no colors, just lines and shapes. So about to its normal color. And then back to the presentation. So that is all for saturation. You see there's they are all very short concepts that it's really good to know before you go into the practice. And then when you put them into practice, they give you many options. We saw yesterday and the day before what is ISO and how to play with it in order to reduce the noise. So that is much better than using noise reduction in a photo editor, because most of the simple ones don't have the option of reducing the noise. Sometimes in order to reduce the noise, a good thing to be done is to use filters, and that is why filters became so famous all around the digital environments. And then of course you can crop. We have all made this type of edition, I'm sure, especially sharing our profile have make our photographs smaller in order to and we didn't want to share anyone else in our profiles. Anyway, the things that matters to us here is that sometimes when you are starting, your shoots aren't good enough, or they are too big, or you include too many details in your photograph that you didn't want them to be there. So that cropping is a good option to avoid those errors of shooting and those things that you don't want in your pictures. So so when you make a mistake shooting, don't worry about it. You can still crop the picture and cut the fly that was around and you don't want to share in your digital environment. So there's about cropping. There isn't much to be said because we all know what it is and how to use it. But the thing that we need to know as photo editors or beginners, photo editor beginners, is that when you crop your photograph, you reduce the quality of the image because that increases the number of pixels. So when you crop a picture, right, let's say hate it here, to reduce the quality of image due to increasing the number of pixels. And it is good to know that because when you're going to share that picture, If the picture is not good enough already, as you increase that number of pixels after you crop it, it will be worse. It will have a worse quality. So you better choose a good quality picture if you want to crop it. That means that, as we said before, most of the times with digital cameras and smartphones, we take many pictures, we take many photographs of the same subject in order to make sure that we have the a proper shoot. So choose that photograph, that shoot, that has the most quality if you want to crop it. Um, okay, I will, yeah, let's finish this part before we make a break. Um, we talked about lenses and how to use them, how to choose them. We saw how we modify our photographs when choosing different lenses. And we also need to know that wide angle lenses create some distortions. So there's also lens correction tools that can adjust these distortions made by the lens when capturing the image. So because each lens is different and the distortions they cause are different as well, you will need to select the lens you used in photo editors like the one we say here, Lightroom, for adjusting automatically. Okay. So that means that this photo editor gives you the option of choosing which type of lens your camera has, so you can edit the distortion. You can correct, adjust the distortion that is made by this lens. With other photo editors, you will not have the option of choosing the lens and correct it automatically, but you will have other options in order to correct that. But we also have a radial filter and a graduated filter, and they are something like this. Okay, you see here the environment, the landscape doesn't have much detail, and with this filter, the background is enhanced and you can see more details. So radial filter provides you two effects of exposure, highlight, shadows, and ATC in a specific location inside or outside of a circular or oval space. So this is radial filter, right? So you increase the exposure, highlight the shadows, ATC. You see, it makes a different background. With a normal filter, a normal lens, you will see like this, but you can move it to wherever you want and you will enhance the colors and the views. Right, so graduated filter will do the same, but it will be a straight line instead of a circle or a square, right? It will be straight. And then we have the brush tool. This is as well in some of the editors, but not in every editor. So um, the editor of that I use in my computer does not have it. Some smartphones have this brush tool, and this allows you to adjust specific points of the image, helping by a brush that you can control with the mouse or pen tablet, and in your smartphone you will be doing it. you can even change colors and things like that. So those are the main things that you need to know about photo editing. As I said, each application, each software has different tools, and the more professional it is, the more specific it is. And nowadays, we also have some of those tools to get with their own filters and photo edition, as well as some smart so you can have okay. So sorry for this interruption. I needed to solve something about the recording of the meeting. So now we were saying that after choosing the topic, we need to choose the right message. The message has to be according our topic, but also it needs to have some characteristics. So it is attractive enough for our audience, but also follows a line. So we need to think of the following questions that will help you decide the message, the right message for your storytelling. So first of all, what is the point of the story, right? Then who are you telling the story to? Who is your audience? Are they your students? Are they your colleagues? Are they your family? Are they unknown people, strangers, or are they anyone? You have to think of your audience as a group and what they like and what is going to be attractive for them. Then, why are you telling the story and why now? Right? Why are you? What do you want to tell the others, and why now and not before and not after? So that story with the women's rights. So maybe she wanted to say it now because now women's rights are taken into account more than in any other historical period. So maybe that is the reason why she wanted to share her opinion now that because it could be taken into account. Maybe she did it some months or some years ago, it wouldn't be. Or maybe because she felt like that right now, but she didn't want to talk about before for any personal reason. So why are you telling the story now and not before and after? Then how will you map your story? Is your story in the past, present, or it has a timeline that includes both or even the future? And then how it starts and how it ends. Is it keeping the focus until the end? That is important. You need to keep the focus in no story. Sometimes the focus needs to be in the middle or just in the end or just at the beginning, right? So right now, I think it's good if we take a break, a 10 minutes break, but I will leave with you. Yes, let's take the break, 10 minutes break, and then we decide about this choosing the right message. So I will let you know here. Okay, so okay, so I will leave it in the chat. Okay, so see you back at 11. It's 3 minutes to take those 10, but we can take 3 more minutes. So let's take a break and then we will continue. Okay, so let's continue with the presentation. So, yeah. One minute, I need to solve something here. Okay, sorted. And then back to the presentation I said. Now, we were talking about how to choose the right message for your audience. And I was giving you a few questions here to help you realize, to help you guys on that right message. And I want you now to decide the following and write it down about your story before we chose the topic. And now I want you to decide what is the point of the story? Who are you telling the story to? Why are you telling the story now? How will you map uh, your story? And so is it in past, present, future, or all of them? Does it have a timeline? And how does it start and end? So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to share it with you in the chat. So second part of the practical part of this course is the following. Mhm. So here you go. So decide, I will give you some time to think of those questions, and I want you to write it down in a document and then send it to me through the chat. Okay, so I don't see your messages in the chat, so I hope you are working on your own and keeping it for yourself, because I want you to apply the knowledge that you acquire here. Anyway, I'm going to show you how this reflection on those topics should look like in order to decide the message of your story. I'm going to stop here and I'm going to share with you this other WordPad. So this is what I have been doing while you did your round. So the first part was deciding the topic. So the topic for my storytelling is going to be why I decided to be a teacher of teachers, or a teacher of an instructor of people who share the knowledge somehow. So then when we are talking about the right message, you have to answer those few questions. So I am deciding what is the point of the story. So the point in my story will be my passion or vocation for teaching and inspiring others. Uh, then the other question was, who are you telling the story to? So it will be other teachers or other people related to the field of education. Then the question was, why are you telling the story now? So in this case, in my case, I decided to share it in this moment because the education has now grown bigger, a bigger phenomenon. It is considered more important than it was years ago. The countries are more developed, so most of them can reach a certain level of education, and also because there are more tools to reach everyone in order to give education, as we are doing here today online. So those are the reasons. Those are my answers to those questions that will help me decide the message that I am going to be through my storytelling. As you see, something personal but also related to education. It doesn't have to be true, but at least I have a story to be told through a storytelling, right? So to answer the next question, how will you map to your story? Is it in the past, the present, or does it have a timeline? So mine has a timeline because I am talking about why I decided to be a teacher and sharing my passion, right? So it has a timeline. It is when I started, when I finished studying, when I started teaching, then now the moment that I continue teaching, and then how others, it is the future, how others will be inspired. That is this the timeline for my story. Could be any other. When I was born, when I was 20, when I met my husband, and how I had kids and how many kids I have. It can be when I started my project, how the project developed, and then how the project is being spread to other institutions, right? So the story can be anything. The thing is that you need to organize the things, the story that you are going to share, because when you are doing the storytelling, it needs a storyline. You cannot have a disorganized message, and you need to have this in writing because it will help you organize the pictures as well, the photographs, the video, the music, and anything that you put together in the storytelling. So that's planning is an important part of storytelling. When you see people online, when it's social media or digital media, when you see them telling a story of a few minutes that even looks non-formal, most of the times they didn't just get their cell phones and recorded everything together, image, audio, and everything together. They first thought of the topic, as we have done. Then they decided all those things, all those questions that are going to help them organize the message and then put everything together with that message that already makes sense. So another question is how it starts and how it ends. Is it keeping the focus until the end? As we said, it's up to you. It will depend on you if you want to put the focus at the beginning, the middle, or the end. So in my story, this example that I took, there is a start when I decided to study a bachelor's degree. It says here, there is a focus in which when I studied to master's degree and other courses. And then in the end, the intention is sharing my passion for education, right? So that's an example of any story. You can see can be anything that you want to share. So let's go back to the presentation and let's continue. Back to the presentation is here. Here you have. So when deciding your message, while you're writing the draft, you will create a frame of your story. And in a while, you can add or remove some parts. Before you complete your script, you can read aloud and record your voice to hear how it sounds. Also, this will give you the length of the story. Even if it's not obligatory to use your own voice to tell your story, it is always keeping the focus easier to follow the story if there is a teller's voice, right? So we saw two videos. In most of them, there is someone speaking, someone talking, telling us a story, but we can compare those with the other one that had no voice recording, but text. So it is advisable to have a voice, but as you see, if you don't have a voice, it is good to have that text that substitutes the voice. Otherwise, people will be lost in the message because pictures, photographs, images can be interpreted in some different ways, depending on how we look at the world, depending on our brains, depending on our experiences, depending on our expectations. So if you want to make a storytelling without a voice, you have to be very good at and think very carefully what photographs you're going to choose and which images are you going to put together, because and how you yeah how how you match them, how you make a line with all of them. It is very difficult to give a single message, the same message to everyone with just pictures. You had to be very experienced and you had to be very good at it. So that is the reason why you better have a narrator, someone telling the story. If it's not you, it could be any someone else. Something else you need to think of here, well, and related to this narration, this is the intention of this. I have shown you an example of a story of myself. So I have the line for the story, but I will need to write the speech. It will be better to write the speech that is going to frame the story, and then you can add or remove any of those questions that when don't make sense. But even in your speech, you can modify it. And here comes again the planning. If you get your phone and you start talking, two things happen. Well, it will happen many other things, but two important things that you should consider will happen. One of them is your speech won't make much sense because you will be thinking at the same time that you are speaking. And if your ideas are not clear enough, and even when they are, the speech will not sound steady, and the speech will not sound with enough sense, and you will not have a line to follow. So that is the reason why it is good to decide to answer these questions and then write your speech as a draft. And then after you read it aloud, or even after you record it many times, you modify it until you have a good result that you think already matches the story that you want to tell with pictures and sound. Another thing that happens is that when you record your voice, if you are not used to it, you are going to sound strange to yourself. Your voice is going to sound to you like a stranger's voice. Most of the times, we don't like our voices unless they are edited. If you're good at it, go ahead. Other thing that could happen is that you are good at giving speeches or talking through microphones. So you are used to talk in front of a microphone. So your speech, your pronunciation is good enough. So you don't need to do much about it. But most of the times we are not. We are used to talk in person, maybe in online environments, but without modifying our voices in order to make them good enough to sound in a story. So that's another thing that happens when you do a recording of your voice without thinking of it. The good thing to be done is to have this draft with those questions, then write your speech, modify your speech, and then record your speech once and again until you think it is good enough. Not only because of the story you are telling, but also considering the tone of your voice, how understandable it is, etc. And of course, as I said, you will have to get used to how your voice sounds when you record it. It sounds different than when you hear yourself speaking. Another thing to take into account is the microphone. We'll talk a bit more about it later, but you see that I have a microphone here, and that is because when we use devices, the recording is not always good enough without a microphone or without head speaker. So the best thing you do is this one, or using another type of microphone to record your voice. That will avoid the noise around you, because your voice will be coming directly to your phone, and that will allow you also to speak better and closer to the device that you're recording, in which you are recording your voice. So say that we have decided those questions, so we are talking about the message, but there's a few steps or stages to follow to do effective storytelling, and we are going to see them one by one. The first one is recognizing the target audience. So even if you're enthusiastic about the topic, if you don't modify it for the intended audience, the message may be utterly misunderstood. So that means if I am giving this course to someone who is not interested, that people will not get the message because there's no interest, they won't pay attention. That's one thing. And then at the same time, some people who is not interested in the course won't understand the courses, because if you are here and you have some interest, first of all, as I said, you pay attention, but also you want to understand the knowledge that I am giving you, and you will probably have already some background before you came here, so my message will be understood. In storytelling, it is exactly the same. You have to make sure that your audience is enthusiastic about the topic. The people that you are talking to want to hear what you are saying. Otherwise, you need to modify it very well to attract their attention. And then you will need to know if which kind of speech these people like. An example to be taken is the video we saw about that woman speaking about women's right. She doesn't raise her voice, and she tells the story in a soft way, and there is a specific audience that wants this soft message, and this kind of speech. And she thought, the person who made the storytelling thought of it before she made it, and she knows that she's going to have a type of audience and not other. She probably won't have as an audience those women that fight for the rights by shouting and giving and using other type of messages that are stronger or that are more direct or more harsh. So this is something really important before you start the storytelling. Thinking the target. Who is the target? Are they students? Are they adults? Are they teachers? Are they from your same nationality? Are they from a different background? Let's use the example for those who are here, project managers. If you're going to meet people from different nationalities, you have to think about an international background. You cannot put things into the background of your same culture. You will have to um, get reading your message and your story from those cultural things related to your speech, unless you want to show some part of your culture in the speech. So you will have to think of an international audience with different ages, coming from different backgrounds. So your message most of the times needs to be kind of neutral. So um, this is an example, and it's the first and I would say the main thing when doing storytelling. So as it says here, you have to adjust the story for the intended audience so they can genuinely comprehend the message you are trying to convey. This stage is critical, as I said, because it establishes the length of the story, the vocabulary and terms you need to use, the visuals you need to use, and the platform on which you would like to publish your digital story, right? So if I want to use a platform that it's very well known in my country, but I am going to share my storytelling with Asian countries, let's say China, I will have to think of which platforms do they have available and how those platforms are used. Another thing to think of is relating to the visuals. Maybe I want to include the visuals related to religion because they are common in my culture, but maybe the culture in which I'm going to share my storytelling has a different religion, or even doesn't like my religion, or they are very close to their religion. So it's an example on how we need to think very well of the audience that we are going to aim with our message. As it says here, the vocabulary. If I am talking with young people, I should not use high register vocabulary or complicated vocabulary or very technical vocabulary. It will, of course, depends, because there's young people who are very well prepared and might know more about the topic that I am do. But if I am in a non-formal context, I will have to avoid this type of vocabulary. Um, and the length of the story, and there's a generational difference here. Generations that are in their 40s and older nowadays, they are used to longer stories that have a slow pace, while young people is used to shorter stories with fast piece. So that is something as well that you will have to think. If I record this course and I play to my nephews, they will be making fun at me because they will need a faster piece in their in the recording. So and probably if you any of you is a teacher, you have probably heard at some point some of your students complaining about the methodologies that some teachers use, and that is the reason why they are used to short stories with fast pace, and that is something you have to include in your audience if it is aimed for young people. Then something else we have to think of when doing our storytelling. We had to develop a good relationship with the target audience. So you need to be sympathetic toward others if you want to persuade others of your beliefs, solutions, or goods. In any case, it is difficult at times, particularly if you cannot observe the target audience. And that's a good thing when we are online. Sometimes we have the option of meeting the people in person in advance, or even if we don't meet them, we know them because they are in the same cultural background than we are, or in the same, we have been in the same place. But when we are in digital backgrounds, not always, we do not always have that chance. So even though your digital story is going to be on the internet, thus not in real time, the connection is still very much visible. So a good example here is it's yeah, the religion is or politics are good examples of how to have a good relationship with the target audience, unless we are using talking about a topic. I mean, our message is about a topic related to politic religion, and that is the same that our audience share. It is better to avoid it, because if we are using those topics, including those topics in our message, and the audience doesn't share our political or religious belief, then we are not creating a good relationship, because we'll be opposing each other, even though we share a common interest in something else. So unless your storytelling is meant for an audience that shares the same beliefs in these cases, politics and religion and some similar others, avoid it. Otherwise, make sure that they share the same. And this is a good a thing that that brings me to something we have to take into account as well, because as you cannot observe your audience, your target audience, you're going to share online your content, your storytelling. You have to keep in mind that there's also those called haters, and most of the times you're going to find them, and so you will also make sure that you have to develop a good relationship, but keeping in mind that it's not always possible, and there are some people that you should label as haters and accept that they are there, and make the best of their comments about anything you shared. Some influencers say that haters are a good thing to have as followers, because they help us, as they criticize that much, they help them to improve. So that will be a good way to look at them. So something as well that we have to think of is that the audience wants something in exchange for the hours they spent reading, listening, or watching your work. So using a quotation, figures, photos, or something else pertinent to get their attention is a good thing to be done. And then bonding, might also entail winning over the target audience loyalty or amusing them with humorous material, right? So if they are watching your video, it's because they want something from you, from your video. uh, mm, Include material that they like in it, and then give something in exchange at the end, either knowledge, either art, either cultural things, you know. So engaging with them is something good to be done as well. That it's you can do engaging. You can engage with your audience by either the tone of your voice, as I said before, but also with your body language. Right? I am sitting here now because it is a different thing. It's not a short storytelling. It is a long course or a course not so long, but of a few days with few hours each. So cannot be standing and moving around using my hands and moving my face, but exaggerating sometimes your gestures and moving your hands if you are in the video. It's a good to be done as a good thing to be done to engage with your audience, because movement grabs the attention of people, as well as body language and the tone of the changes in the tone of a voice. So as I said here, the beginning, the audience wants something in exchange. So your tale, your story must leave the audience with something they can use, and ideally piquing them with curiosity in even more of your material. So if you are going to continue the storytelling, if your story has different parts, or if you have a channel in which you have different storytellings, it is a good thing to leave space at the end of that storytelling with some touches of the next thing that is coming. So you develop like their curiosity, and they will be waiting for more. So that is all those are some tips to help you have a good relationship with your audience. Now, being aware of the purpose of the story, the intention, for? What for? Why are you doing storytelling? We saw in the last storytelling we watched today, that short video of that woman called my dad. Okay, it might make sense for her family, might make sense for some of her friends, might make sense for you to use it somehow in your classes or your youth environment when you work with young people. But otherwise, what for doesn't make sense to me. If I watch that video, it doesn't make sense to me at all, because I'm not interested in her personal life, right? But I might use it to talk about personal relationships, or how to enhance friendship, or how to enhance a relationship with a brother or a sister. Then it will have a purpose. Otherwise, it doesn't. So be aware of that. So think of it before you make your storytelling. Think what is the intention of your story. So as it says here, people usually automatically pause to consider their objective before deciding on a specific decision. Without having a specific aim, what good does it do to blindly and randomly come up with market strategies, right? Because all those things that we are talking here about today are market strategies, a few tips of them. So this is also true with the narrative. Each story that is told has the potential to serve a function, and those functions might vary greatly. As I said, that video called My Dad had a function for the woman who made it. I don't know which one. Maybe it was just to tell us how to make a storytelling. but maybe it was just to tell her personal story to her family. For me, will not have any function, but as it says, have functions might vary greatly. Uh, I can get it and use it for a different function, being that one enhancing personal relationships in my students. So as it says here, we cannot go blindly and randomly uh, recording our voices or recording a video in the street or recording a video at home and making a video of 2 minutes and we think that's it. We have a strategy, we have a plan, and we need to plan anything. So something else we need to decide is the story's conclusion beforehand and the structure, the plot to achieve it. As we saw before, we thought about the message, what for, how, which is the line of the message. Same here, what is the intention of the message and how we split it or put it together in order to reach that purpose. So be certain of the message you wish to convey beforehand, and afterward you incorporate several details into the story which will support your argument. Of course, you can also do it the opposite way. And on occasion, it will succeed, but most of the times it is not advised. The majority of the time, you will have a story that is disjointed, illogical, and unclear in its purpose. Try it, try it. I encourage you to try it right now to get your smartphone or your device of any kind and record a storytelling in that way. So it will make no sense. You will be speaking with a broken speech that has no sense, and you will be thinking what to add at the same time. So no, don't do it. I encourage you to do it, but just to see the results of it. A good storytelling needs preparation, needs practice, needs planning, and needs strategies. Something really good to be done for your storytelling is supporting it with the samples and data. And that means you can use, as I say, the gestures. If you are in the video or anyone else is in the video, you can use gestures, moving your hands, moving your face. Don't stay static, not staying static as I am here, because this is a different thing. But moving your hands, your face, coming closer and farther away to show movement and grab the interest of the people. Something else, the examples and data we have seen during this course, some examples with videos because I couldn't make it this time in a different way, but I show you samples of what you are explaining. I did it myself with this workbook today to set the message. So it is important that you include examples, even if it is a short video, a short story. If you include examples and data, that is a good thing to grab the attention and to support what you are saying. And songs, music are also a good thing to include. Keep in mind that song music changes our mood. It will depend on the type of music and if it has lyrics in the lyrics as well. Not recommendable if you're going to speak at the same time, but or it should be very low. Anyway, music changes mood. So depending on which atmosphere you want to create in your storytelling, you will have to choose one type of music or another. Think very well of that before you put music into your stories. So charts as well are good to use when you want to show patterns or transformations, and that will clarify things. You can also use quotations or images. Images, of course, we have seen yesterday and the day before how to take the proper shoot, how to take good pictures, how to modify the camera and the environment in order to use good photographs. Images are the most powerful things that you can include in your in your storytellings. As you have seen, the four videos that we have watched today had images, so don't leave them behind. And when using data, you have to make sure it is accurate, because otherwise, if you don't make sure it is accurate and you just include it to grab attention, that is a big mistake. Because and the thing what you are trying to do with all those things that we are talking now, gestures, slideshows, songs, and images, quotations, anything, the intention is to support what you are saying, to give veracity, to show that what you are saying is true. So if you use data that is not accurate, you will be sending an opposite message. You will be showing the others that they cannot trust you because you are not supporting what you say, but you are showing something just because. So doing a preliminary study, it's necessary and a good advice. And we say that we talked before, I think, about fake news, and but not only fake news. There is so much information online nowadays, and we need to make sure that the information we are giving is correct, accurate, and true. Otherwise, we will be creating conflict in our speech, and people will not trust us. First of all, we can find ourselves in trouble, but after that, we will find that not many people is following us and watching us or listening to us, and if they do so, it's not for good reasons. So when you use sources from internet, make sure they are reliable, and make an effort and invest the time to make sure that the information you are sharing is accurate and true. So incorporate excitement. How do we do that? So visuals, we said, of course, images and all that information that we have seen before, including data, including quotations, anything. But also you have to keep the information interesting. What you are saying has to be interesting. Your tone of voice has to be interesting. So during the plot, use tension. You may do this by assigning the protagonist, the protagonist of the story a task, or by inventing a foe. You may also open the story with a startling, absurd, or touching circumstance, right? The audience will be curious about what you are going to say, and how the protagonist will survive, and what is happening after. Those stories that we have seen are quite plain. Those storytellings that we watched at the beginning of the day, they are quite plain, but the intention was a different one. The intention was to show you the results of some storytellings. But you have to think of how to incorporate excitement into your stories. I remember a teacher that had good lessons, and he made videos for his students, but he was missing the excitement, and it was just a way of explaining things. So as it says here, you can use a protagonist that is not you, and make the story about someone else, and make a funny story, a curious story, a scary story, right? So incorporating the assignment and keeping it interested is important as well. Something to help you do this will be adding some stereotypes or hunt for plot twists to make the story extra fascinating, although the audience will be aware that things are not always either black or white. By bringing up contentious topics sometimes, you may pique their curiosity and make them desire to learn. more. So it says, it reminds us here that no one ever claimed that telling a story is simple, right? So it's not simple. It requires an effort of following those steps and those doing adding these things. But if you follow this, you can make a profound impact and be successful in your story being liked by the others. Okay, so let me 1 minute. Mhm. Okay, we still have this left. Because I would like to give you a break. I think at this time we will need a break because it's so much information to get, and I don't want to make your brains tired, even though I know you're capable of getting all this today. Um, okay, yeah. Let's take a break now. So let's take a 15 minutes break. Mhm. So it will be not. Okay, so let's take 50 minutes break and then we will see each other here again at 10 past 1. Okay, so we are back, and we are going to see this last part of the course that will help you do storytelling, proper storytelling, in order to grab the attention of your audience and being liked and shared in your digital environments. So let's go back to the presentation. Here we are. So this is one of the most important parts, making the storyline and planning the plot. So the subject is set. We said it already. We choose a topic, and it is considered how you want to convey your ideas within that phase. It is crucial to consider the optimal ways to organize the message to create satisfying totality. Sorry, for your digital stories. So a storyline may be created to accomplish this. We already did this part. We chose a topic and we set the storyline through those questions that help you guess how to organize it. So then you had to begin documenting some thought as you conduct some thinking. So talk to your loved ones about your thoughts. Imagine a basic story that can be acted out. So it doesn't have to be your loved ones, but it can be also your colleagues or anyone working with you who can help you um, uh, make visible or make into transform into images those thoughts about your story. Then make a rough draft of the screenplay that will be recorded yourself reading it. Do not, however, give in to the need to tell a story entirely through pictures and sounds. So as we said before, you can of course make a storytelling with only pictures and sounds, but it is better if you include your voice or at least some text. So people seek out personal voices. Voices are one of the things that usually grab our attention more than anything, apart from pictures. So that is why it is a good combination to have them together. Be confident in your tone, as I have been saying along these days. The tone of voice is important. We can play with it, and if you feel confident about it, it will help you with storytelling. If your tone of voice is very low and you speak very slowly because you are shy, you will not grab the attention, and your storytelling won't be attractive enough. So everyone thinks they sound strange on the recording, as I said at the beginning. And stay close. Ignore all you have learned regarding speaking in a cold, serious academic paper tone. So if you're a teacher or you are used to talking formal environments because you are project manager or you have another position related to those, there's a protocol to follow. There's a way of talking and behaving. So you have to set it aside and think. There is a different way of making storytelling. You have to talk in a different way. You have to sound warm. You have to stay close to the camera. You need movement, etc. Even your clothes should probably look different. It is not a writing competition, so the people need to understand the story you are telling. You have to speak. So you have to tell your story and you have to include your perspective in that story. And your drafts will be not good enough, not perfect at the beginning. They might be mediocre, but you have to avoid editing as you get further. So you have to edit your drafts while they are drafts. So when a person writes and edits, the different regions of the brain are being used. Allow them to flow. Write down the main points of your story and then revisit them to edit. As I said before as well, you have a draft, you can make modification on it, and then the farther you are in the process of creating, the less changes you should make. Keep it short. Remember that storytelling, it's between 2 and 10 minutes, so you cannot tell your entire story. I was giving you the example of my answer to those questions that I was giving you to decide how to organize your topic, how to organize your message. The truth is that those answers weren't good enough, because that will give me enough speech and enough story for a long video. But if I want to make a storytelling, I have to make it short. So I have to synthesize, I have to choose the important part of that story. So as it says here, keep it short. You will be astonished at the message you can convey just in a few words and with a few essential pictures if you write efficiently. Um, Again, regarding vocabulary, maintain wording basic and alleviate using complex terms. Alleviate is an example, right? It won't be good for storytelling. You should need to find something more simple. Then read the text aloud before you record it. Read it aloud. You will get used to your own voice. You will get used to the speech. You will see which parts you need to modify, and you will realize as well how to play with your tone. And when you start reading, your tone is most of the times plain. So when you start reading, you realize you will have to enhance some parts and make others softer. Then, as well, after that, remember you had to achieve depth and complexity, and often that is done through telling hard realities, personal truths. So just don't withhold. Nevertheless, in the end, you must decide what information you would like to reveal and to whom in a very private way. So, going back to the example I was giving you about my story, I decided to talk about why I'm passionate about teaching, and I wanted to share my passion with others. So here I might include some of my personal my personal truths, my personal experiences, the things that happened to me that were tough, and I can go through the drama or leave it behind. So I will decide which parts I want to include, but you have to remember that you need depth and complexity and grab the attention of the people. So it will depend on you on how private you want to go. From those videos we saw today, remember that some of them were unpersonal. The one about my dad will be very personal. So it depends on the person, the information they want to include in a storytelling. Consider the story's plot line. So every story has a start, development, and conclusion. So you have to include everything in a 2-minute story or 10-minute story. So the concept is revealed at the start, which also establishes the tension and excitement. It will have to last that time of the video. So keep that in mind. It has a plot, but you also need to maintain the tension. Think it well in order to choose well enough not to leave behind something the citing sorry part out of that 2 10-minute story. And then the conclusion is the point at which minor revelation, enlightenment, or insight is made apparent. Although no one we know uses it, this is occasionally referred to as the desired action realization model. You will not have enough room for diversions in a 2-minute story. Meet the gratification the audience desires. Improve your speed, as we said. You need to talk faster than in other environments. Also because people nowadays is used to fast pace when watching videos. So you will need to improve your speed while talking, as you probably have seen I have done in this part of the course and of the day. Believe in your speech. Each of us has a unique narrative, a unique story, a unique perspective. So embrace it and believe in yourself. Otherwise, you will not convince the others. And then when you have completed your story, read it aloud again, but with some other people who can give you the opinion and help you improve and change the result. And then most of the times they will help us see our errors, something that we need to paraphrase, or they will even help us realize what is our authentic voice, meaning which tone should we adapt for that story. So there's again some questions that we have to think of when we have the message, we have the story, we have the topic, we know what we are going to say. We have practiced with the voice already. We have modified our voice as it is required. We have think and proved that the story fits in a 2 minutes or 10 minutes recording. So now we need to ask ourselves, what sort of photographs are we looking for? So again, we have to search for photographs that match our story. How do you arrange them? So you might have chosen the right photographs, but you also have to consider that the story, if you are narrating a story or you're including text, where are going to be those pictures? In which part of your speech? In which part of the music? In which part of the video? Are they going to be at the beginning? Do they say enough at the beginning? Do they match the beginning of the story? Should they be at the end? Right? So it's something you have to reflect on as well. How do I arrange those pictures? What has to be mentioned in relation to each picture? You see that in the last video, my dad, the woman was talking about things that happened in her life. So she was commenting something while she showed a picture of that moment in her life. She said, my brother and I, and she showed a picture of her brother and her when they are children, and then later on when they were adults. So the photographs need to be related to what you mentioned, but we also have the option of doing something different. About no, sorry, that one there wasn't text, but sorry, there wasn't voice. There was just text. But anyway, anyhow, the photographs were related to the text, and some of the photographs were not mentioned, but they were saying something on their own. So that is something that you have to think of as well. So after you choose the photographs and you arrange them, you need to think if you're going to say something about the picture of, or if the photograph is going to talk by itself. And then what graphics, visuals, etc., if any, are you going to employ? And again, where in the storytelling. So now comes the moment of choosing the media. What are you going to use, right? So you can use you can have a professional team of photographers with professional tools like cameras, laptops, tripods, lamps, speakers, anything, right? Even software for the edition of your video. But if not, you have to think carefully about which media you're going to use, and that is incredibly time consuming, but it is important to choose the adequate ones. I was showing you at the beginning of the day a photo editor that I might use to change, improve my photographs, but that one might not be good enough for video editing or to put all my pictures together. So think well enough about what you are going to choose. So first, the photos, right? How many images do I need? You cannot just select photographs because you like them and put them all of them together and then tell your story. Maybe they are too much, maybe they are too many. And this again is trial and error. You have to think, where are you going to start? Who will work with you? How much time will the photo shoot last? So maybe you will need to comment a photograph more than another, so they will be in your video more times. So those details have to be um, carefully chosen and carefully thought of, depending on the content of your project. So you don't need for the beginning to do everything perfectly, of course, but as I said, it's trial and error. Choose, and my advice is that you choose as much photographs as you think match your story, and then when you start developing the story by recording and by editing, then you will realize that which ones you can leave behind. Well, another thing here, because yeah, another thing here is you have to think that as a beginner, most of the times you will invest a great deal of time in editing your pictures and classifying your photographs, because we are curious and you want to try and you want to learn anything, and you will invest time. Not you will not be focusing in the entire project, but just in the photograph. And you might even spend time thinking of, hey, look at this one. Do you remember when we took the picture, telling stories about the photograph, right? So you have to be patient. Always set aside more time that you think you're going to need, because those things happen when you are a beginner. So when you have all the pictures together, uh, you an advice again is that you put them all in a file, so you will not be wasting time in locating them. So have a file with your pictures in your computer, and then upload into the software if you need to edit them, or in the editing platform. There's some of them online we saw already the first day, or in your phone, right? You can also create a file on your phone, your smartphone, and then from that file you can edit those photos. So, and something else, I say they gave you an example of one of my works with the storytelling, and sometimes you have to scan um, photographs because they are printed. They are all one that they are, or you lost the digital photograph and you have it printed. So when you have to scan pictures, that it is again an investment of time, and you need a good deal of time to first scan the picture, then make sure that the picture has been scanned properly. The tools that you will need for that. Then we go into recording our voices, right? In order to record our voices, it is important again that we use proper tools. Some video and photo editing programs or applications have the option of including recording of your voice that you can take with any recorder that is by default in your smartphone or your device. But some others have a tool in which you can include the voice. There's a different file for recording your voice and including it in the edition. But there's also an application called Voice Recorder that you can download from Google Play again, and you can use it in your smartphone. So here is the moment when you have to think of everything before you download any application. So if you're going to edit your pictures and you're going to make your video, the recommendation is that you look for a program or an sound. And notice that I say voice and sound as different things, because you might want to record your voice, edit it, and also add music. So make sure you use any of those that have everything, because what might happen to you is that you edit your photographs and videos in an application, and then you want to add the recording of your voice that sounds perfect to you. You have been trying and everything. You tried many times until you had the perfect recording, and then you want to use that recording, and the program, the application doesn't allow you to add that as well. So make sure you can work with everything together, or that you have a tool that can put everything together. So about recording voices, just I have to remind you that you will have to do it many times. First, to get used to your voice, then to manipulate your voice, to find the adequate tone, to be able to enhance the different parts of the story. So it's not a bad thing to make different recordings of each, different recordings of the same story, and then listening to all of them, try again to improve them, and then choose the one that you think is the best for the final edition. Then including music, it is always the best thing you have to be done. As we said, music changes mood and sets it can be faster. Side the person that is a more calm, is listening. Poker-free instrumentals such as classic music, atmospheric music, rustic music, jazz music, right? Those are the most frequently used because they suit different atmospheres, different feelings, different moods, but they are vocal free. That is important because if you are talking and there is a lyric at the background, that might be confusing for the person who is listening, and we will be wanting to listen to both, something that we won't be able to do. So another thing to be done, if you can create your own music, or you have a friend who creates music, you know a composer, or you have the option of paying a person to do it for you, that is the best option you will do. Here, with that option of creating your own music, you will have, as well as an original creative storytelling, you will have the attention from the people who has never heard that song or that music before. So it will be good. It will be good to grab the attention and to be liked and to sound attractive. And also, it is good to avoid having problems with copyright. This is something storytellings. Make sure that the song that you are using does not have copyright. If it has copyright, make sure you pay what you need to pay for it. And if it has any other of the licenses we saw on Wednesday that allow you to use the content freely as soon as you mention the author, then do so. Use the song, and then at the end with the credits, mention the author of the music or song. Despite of that, that there's some places in which you can use music that will not cause you any legal problems, such as social rights, free music directory, and of course YouTube has always options for you to share music without having trouble with the copyright. And as it says here, even if you are not earning money from your narrative, and we came to the visual materials. So there's um, different options we are going, there's many, of course, but we are going to see only three. And sorry that I am going fast here because I want to check some things that I will need to skip because we are getting close to the end of the course today. And I want to check the important things that you will need to see. Okay, so I'll go back. So choosing the visual materials techniques. We have been talking on how to take the proper shoot, the best shoot, the good shoot for your storytelling. We have been talking about composition, light, everything to have a good photograph. But now it comes the moment in which you decide what is going to be the background for your storytelling. If you are in your video storytelling, um, that's a different thing. But as you see, as you saw, storytelling is composed of pictures and there's different techniques. We're going to see the main ones here. The first one is a single shot in which you choose just one image and then you tell your story. That image has to be very good, very well matched to your story. Otherwise, it will be tiring for the person listening to your story, because as we say that nowadays we are used to a fast piece video, and we are used to movement in anything that we watch. So if you choose a single shot, which is something very good to be done depending on the story, your pitch has to be good enough. You see, this one is clear enough. You see even those parts of the wall that are broken. You see the details of the man even inside the house, the colors of the door, everything. So it has to be a very good quality photograph. It has to be properly set in the background, and it has to be well related to your story. Most of the times it is used for very short storytelling, like those for that last about 2 minutes or so. And then it has to be as well impressive enough to keep the attention. Right here you see strong colors, yellow and blue. They are warm and cold colors together, grab the attention. And then there is a man here that can be related to the story, and other details that might be related to the story. So those are the things that you have to consider when using this technique. And then you can go to the photo series, right? It is several photos of related things, right? So the image has to be related to what you say again, and you can start to divide your text into parts for understanding how many and which kind of photos you should take. That means if you are taking the pictures after having your story, that is another thing we haven't had the time to talk about, but you can either start by taking the photographs and then creating the storytelling, or you can create the storytelling following the steps that we have seen today and then choosing the photographs. Anyhow, you can create this photo series. Here you see that there's a series of stairs or steps, right? There's steps here, there's different steps here and here and here. They are different stairs, but they all probably say a related story to that topic. So that is serious. It can also be different parts of the same place, and it can be different places as here, right? But it is different. It is different photos together. Most of the times most storytelling use this technique is the one we have watched in the videos today. The only difference is that here this one has a topic in common. And then this the stop motion animation is a funny technique, a good one that you can use, but you need to practice with it if you haven't done it before, because it requires um, to be very detailed with it. What you do here is to create motion by taking shots of something in the different moments of the movement. That means we look at this here. So I take a shoot of those textiles, and then I can move this one together with this one, and I take another shoot, and then I move this one together with this one, I take another shoot. So I'm creating movement, and the different shots will be showing at different moments of the storytelling, and you create motion through the storytelling. It can be difficult for beginners to be done, but it is a very attractive, entertaining way of placing your photographs. And then there's animation production. You can produce 2D, 3D animation, and then you can also edit it. And I will skip this part because there is okay, there's a part that we skipped here. Yeah, I'm going to skip. Yeah, this video should be at the back. Anyway, I'm gonna move it here. Okay, because I'm going to skip this part because here we could be talking about a software that creates 2D, 3D. It is very interesting. It is you can start from beginner's level and you can develop more knowledge. But I will not stop because we don't have the time. But I will show you the results. I think there's pictures here. Let me see. No, okay, so let me put the video where it belongs to, and then I'll go back. So just to give you an idea, I will show you the video. Sorry. AdWords. Okay, so sorry, I have increased the speed of the recording. So now. Okay, so this character that you see here is what you can do with that program. As he says, in around 10 minutes. You don't really need advanced knowledge. Right, so that program is meant to help you create 2D, 3D characters that you can include in your storytelling. It is an interesting one. It's called CGG, and you can even watch tutorials online on YouTube, as you can see. But we are going to skip it because we don't have enough time to talk about it, and it will require for you to know a bit more. Let's jump to the storyboard. We have only 10 minutes left, and it's not much to be said about it. I wanted you to create one, but anyway, I will just show you what is storyboard. Okay, so and I wanted you to make a storyboard, but at least you will know what it is. A storyboard, if you have some knowledge on cinema, you will know that it is when you create you decide which scenes are you going to have in the movie, and then you play them. So it is the same with the storytelling. As we said, it's not, even if it looks like the storytelling looks like a non-formal environment, non-formal format, non-formal story. The truth is that, as you have seen in these 3 days, that there is behind a lot of preparation, a lot of knowledge, and a lot of efforts and time that people who create them invest and in them. And an important part of the storytelling is the storyboard, and it's the moment that you create, you decide what to include and how to include it, the order of the scenes, and which scenes are going to be in your storytelling. So this is a chart to create storytelling, the storyboard of the storytelling. Sorry. So you have here the script scenes, so you can write down the scenes of your script. What happens first? What happens after? So here the person goes into the house. Second, the person meets with her dog. Third, the dog barks. Fourth, a stranger comes. Right? So you set the story here with the script scenes. And then after, you set which images are going to match those part of the script. You can describe as text or draw the image that you want to create right here. So here, it is better if you have a drawing, even though if you are not good at drawing, doesn't matter, because the intention is to have the idea that you want to match here. And you can also use the photographs that you chose before. When you have that collection of photographs, you put here the photograph that is going to match the script. So I will show you an example here. This is, if you remember the first video we watched today, it was about a city in Italy. So here is the storyboard for that video, right? So we have the script scenes. You write down here the scenes of your script. So the first scene, she says, Cagliari is the capital city of Sardinia, an Italian island in the middle of the Western Mediterranean Sea. So this is, she has been working in all this, as we said before. She has thought of the topic, she has created the message, she has split it in the message into parts and put them in order. And now she's putting it together with the photographs that she took and edited and selected before during these 3 days. So now she's saying that. So she has decided that a map is going to be in this first scene. Sorry. Sorry. So she has decided that in this first scene, there is going to be a map and a globe. She took those pictures, she edited them and put them together. So the next part of her storytelling is this part of the script in which the voice says, cities' multi-layered history is still visible in different areas. So she shows two pictures, one of the city, another one of one area of the city. And then said, like Punic necropolis called Tubik Sedu, whose tombs were used as shelters during World War II. So she's showing pictures of the tomb, right? So that is a storyboard, right? You have already your message. You have decided what your story is, and now you put it together with the images. When you have done all that and have an image for each part of your message, of your story, then your storytelling is ready to be recorded and told, right? So I had a video here to help you understand how you make a storyboard, even if you don't know how to how to draw. But I think we don't have enough time. I'll send it through the chat. So let me see first. So let me put it here. I think it is 10 minutes video or so. 5 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to show you at least the first part in which she explains how to make a storyboard and then how to record it.
Later on, I'll be showing you some examples.
So that is a way in which you can do the storyboard before having the message planned and before having your story that planned. But as we have been doing it the opposite, it was just to give you an idea on how to create your storyboard for you. The first to be done is following the steps that we have seen today, and then set one column for the script scenes and another one for the image that you want to match each scene. And then before we go, I want to show you some programs that you can choose to prepare the digital storytelling. And we did not have time enough in this course to go through them, to see them step by step how to use them. But at least you will know them, and as you have the basic knowledge to create your digital storytelling, you can download them or use them in your device online and try with them and see how your digital storytellings look like. So one of them is Powton. This only requires membership. and it has paid and free options. Then Story Jumper, again, it has a free and payment option. Then Slightly, it can be linked with Facebook as well. Telegamey is another one. Movely is another one. eMovie, it's probably the most known due to being used by Apple. So if any of you has or has ever had an Apple, has probably used it. Then Animoto, Urasma, Go Animate, and Pixton. And we are going to finish here because there was another part in which we were supposed to talk about the teamwork in storytelling. But you all know how important is teamwork. You have been here together, you have probably been working together in some other projects. Some of you are project managers. Those who are students, I'm sure you have been working in teams as well before. And just remind you that teamwork has good things like task sharing, providing a diversity of ideas, creating a fun work environment, having like-minded friends, increasing motivation, assistant and motivation to assist together and thinking together. The fast piece of the work, when you stop, there's another person working and they can also be leading you when you don't feel like working, and a combination of different talents. But keep in mind that there's also difficulties when working together in teamworks, and some of them being not being able to get together at the same time. Thanks God we have nowadays the digital tools like this one we are using, and many other. Conflict of opinion or disagreement. So we have to learn to deal with conflict in order to work in teams. Some members sometimes are unwilling or uninterested in the task. Sometimes it can happen failure to fulfill their duties on time. So we will be depending on others' will. Prolonged disagreement and being criticized that we should always take as something good for our improvement. And that is all about storytelling. Now I want to thank you for your time here with me, and I hope this course helped you to acquire enough knowledge in order to do a good storytelling. And I hope someday I can see the results of your learning. Say that I can only wish you a great weekend and a good evening.